Hi, my name is Dan from EFC,
I'm Luis with EFC.
and today we're going to talk about executive functioning capacity. And we talk about this all the time in our other videos, and we talk about this with our students, and we think it's about time that we actually define what we mean by executive functions capacity. Before we do that, though, we do kind of need to do a quick recap about what executive functions are, just so that we're all on the same page. So again, executive functions takes place in our prefrontal cortex in the front of our brain. But it also interacts with all the different other regions in our brain in an interconnected way. This is why when we really use our executive functions in an unstructured environment, our forehead just heats up like crazy and you can feel it really burn up. So that's kind of what executive functions are. And we usually define it very simply as purposeful, goal-oriented behavior in an unstructured environment. And we can probably break it down into 4 categories. So the first category is like solving problems. And then the other one is making decisions. Another one could be expressing how we feel. And the last one that we typically like to talk about is impulse control. I'm going to kind of turn it over to Luis and let him talk a little bit about the difference between structured and unstructured environment, just so we have that recap.
Oh, thanks. And the thing about structured versus unstructured, the first thing I think to realize is that I'm not talking necessarily about a structure that is imposed on you from somewhere else, someone else, like the rules of a game is structure that is imposed on you. Structured basically means, do I know what I'm doing? And am I able to do this without thinking about it too much? Unstructured means I don't know what I'm doing, or I have to put a lot of thought into it. So structured might be I'm driving down the road, taking a route I've taken 100 times before. That's structured because I know what I'm doing. Now, suddenly, big road closure, it's unstructured because I have to make a lot of decisions and put a lot of effort into figuring out how I'm going to deal with the road closure. So that's simply what it is. Structured, I know what I'm doing and how it's supposed to be done. Unstructured, it's something I don't know what I'm doing or something I have to put a lot of thought into.
Exactly. And we really want to keep in mind that executive functions don't actually happen all the time. And I know you're probably be like, Dan, we make decisions every day, every second. We have to decide whether or not to go to the bathroom, when to cook lunch, when to make dinner, when to go on a walk. You know, all these decisions, isn't that part of executive functions? Well, it's one of the things that is defined by executive functions, but we don't actually use our executive functions unless it's unstructured. So when there's chaos in the world, when there is the unknown, etc., that is when our executive functions actually kick in. So just keep that in mind when we dive into it, because we don't actually use our executive functions all the time. So when we're confused and we're stressed out, our brain really gets overloaded with information. We don't really know how to proceed. And what happens is then we have to start using a bunch of our executive functions to organize our environment, make it more structured, make it make more sense. But as we do that, we have to think a lot. And what happens is that we utilize our executive functioning capacity. And basically, it's how much energy do we really have dedicated to thinking through all the little steps that we need to get back on track. And, you know, one of the things I always remember is when I first started teaching, a lot of my kids with EF difficulties and challenges, they would always come to me after 5 minutes or 10 minutes or even 30 minutes and say, Dan, I'm tired. I'm pooped. I can't think anymore. And how do we really help kids overcome that? We have to help them understand the limitations and the self-awareness around their EF capacity. How much energy do they really have dedicated to overloading their brain? Can you talk a little bit about why it's so important to be more aware of your limitations?
Well, one thing I always tell my students is be honest with yourself. First thing for the student to understand is that it's not that you're wrong, that something is wrong with you. It's just that you're wired a little bit differently. Unfortunately, the world isn't designed for the way your brain works. So acknowledge it, own it, and then decide how you're going to deal with it. If you know something, the way you do something doesn't work, you try and change it. EF functions, students often feel like I should be able to do this. There's something wrong with me because I can't. No, you just don't have a particular kind of skill. Now with capacity, it's a little bit different because part of the issue is you're working by building the skills like time management, which we addressed in another video of ours. By using the skills you learn for, say, time management, you're not working as hard. And then your capacity goes up. Also keep in mind that for a lot of the time, there's an emotional context to this. It's not just I am tired, but it's also I am worried, I am ashamed, I am angry that I'm not doing this. So all that's exhausting. So we can talk about productive breaks as a way to do that if you want. Productive breaks are ways to refill your tank, really refill that tank of executive function capacity.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that, what we really want to remember is that everybody has a different limitation to their capacity. Everybody wants to recognize, okay, how long can I really work consistently before I end up losing it, or before I end up getting too frustrated? Because that's kind of your capacity, right? And when we take productive breaks, meaning, we work 10 minutes, we work 20 minutes, but then we go on a walk, we refuel a little bit, we listen to some music. What that will do is it will help your brain readjust itself. It'll help your brain get back into the motions of things. And recognizing your limitations and being okay with your limitations allows you to grow your limitations and allows you to put in strategies and skills to help you extend your limitations. Because in reality, we have a certain limit or a certain capacity to our executive functions. And when we introduce strategies and skills, what we do is we really make it more efficient. And the efficiency of it allows us to stay productive for longer periods of time.
Let me jump in with one more thing. This just happened recently with a student of mine. He had a lot of stuff going on. He'd fallen behind his schoolwork, seriously behind. Parents came to us, asked us to help. And so I was working with him on calendaring. And how are we going to get all this done? And he did a great calendar. He laid everything out. It was very specific, very time-wise. And then I looked at it, and I had to say to him, dude, you've got yourself working for 6 hours straight without a break, including no dinner break. You got to realize you can't do that. And there's nothing wrong with the fact that you can't do that, but you have to be honest with yourself and say, there's no way I can do this for 6 hours straight, especially if I don't even give myself time to go to the bathroom or have dinner. So it's really a matter of just planning around these things and recognizing what you can do, what you can't do, and what you need to refill so that you can get back in the game at the top of your game.
Exactly. And, one of the things also to recognize is that, a lot of the students that come to us, a lot of the adults that we also work with, sometimes people or individuals are born with less of an executive functioning capacity. And it's really okay. I mean, whatever you have as a capacity is what you have as a capacity. Recognizing that and building in strategies to help you support and get through your day is what is really important. So just remember that a capacity is the amount of energy that you have for executive functions. And in reality, everybody has a different capacity. Learning to recognize it, learning to be more aware of it, building in those breaks, and getting the right support around that is just so crucial. This is why we really emphasize that, getting the right coaching around executive functions is going to help every individual, whether or not they have challenges or not, really improve on whether or not we want to call it efficiency in their day or just a better sense of awareness and better lifestyle to, being more accomplished, being more success in whatever you want to do.
And I think also a really important factor here is to keep in mind that if we get a handle on this, if we can help a student get a handle on that, everyone feels better. Students feel better because they're less stressed out. Students feel better because their grades go up. And I've yet to have a student who didn't at least show me, if not actually say, how good they felt that grade went up. Even if it's just a tick or two, they feel good about it. Parents, to be able to take that stress away, to not have to hover, to not have to worry, and to know that if they say, I'm going to go off to do my homework, they've put in the work, they've had an EF coach train them, teach them, maybe currently working with them to make sure that work is getting done so that everyone can get a little space, breathe, and feel better about how things are progressing. whether it's school or life in general.
Fantastic. So just to summarize, right? Executive function capacity is the amount of energy that you have in your brain to execute on executive functions, whether it be making decisions, whether it be, controlling your impulses, whether it be expressing how you feel. Those are the different executive functions that your executive function capacity helps you do. Learning to recognize your limitations is very crucial in understanding when to take breaks and, when to adjust your strategies and build in strategies to help you become more efficient with your executive functions.
I got nothing.
Perfect. So thank you guys for listening in on this one. And we look forward to talking to you guys soon.
Thank you.